Hi, Colleen.
Hi, hey Megan.
Um, so we're doing a video blog, and our idea is to talk about writing and editing. We're both editors and developmental editors, and also writers and moms. And we met virtually. Like I think you're the first person I've met online completely.
I I forget we've never met in person. I feel like we have,
Yeah,
but
and I think like video helps because um, like I feel like if I just talked to you on the phone, I would be like, I don't know what you're really like. But anyway, so yeah, my first fully virtual. Um,
yay, me too, me too.
yeah, and we have this idea to do this video blog. We're calling it Anonymous Spells. Colleen, do you want to explain what that is, or do you think people know?
It grows from my deep love of the Brontes and of
Yeah.
course how they were writing in a time where women were infrequently published, if at all. So they all had to pretend to be men.
Yeah, and I think Colleen loves to write about the Brontes, and she's kind of like roped me into it as well. Like I was just reading Wuthering Heights and watching documentaries and stuff. So yeah, I'm on
Yes,
for
yeah.
along for the ride, I guess. So I guess today we're going to talk about how we got our agents. We both are lucky to have agents, and it's not, all we're still working out sort of the kinks of that, but I always think it's like good to look back and think about like successes and things that are going well because it is. I was reading Colleen's what was that, your like newsletter recently that said everything is a roller coaster and it's like up and down and sometimes you have good news and sometimes you have bad news and I don't think that sadly ever ends. um,
Yeah.
you think it does at some point and you're like, oh yeah, now I'm just like an award winning author, but I don't know if that's true. So I think it is always up and down. um, so yeah, we're going to talk about how we got our agents. My process was really long, and I mean, I think it's good because we have sort of differing um, stories to tell. And so I don't know, Colleen, do you want to ask me the questions and then I'll ask you, I guess?
Yeah, yeah. So just talking about getting an agent, it's a long process sometimes, and sometimes you just chance into it. But what was kind of the process like for you?
Very painful. I actually I looked back last night to look and see like how many queries I sent and like how many rejections I got and all that. And I mean, I looked for an agent for I think 10 years and I had four different books. And I think I was like I really wanted an agent and that I knew that's the way that I wanted to go. So I didn't really try any other routes. Um, and but now when I look back at it, I mean, it's not as bad as I thought it was. Like the first book I sent out was a novella, and I don't know how anyone looked at it because it was too short, really. But I looked at it. I sent it to 72 agents, and 17 people requested it, which I think is actually pretty good.
That
And
is really
then,
good.
and that kind of like continued with all the books. Like I always had requests and I always had people um, like sort of cheering me on. And I think I didn't realize it at the time because I was like, why am I not getting, an offer? But there were always agents reading and saying, keep going. And I really like this. It's not for me. And I always thought, well, they're just being nice, but I don't, I don't
Yeah.
think they were. Um, so yeah. And then I sent out that first query that I sent out was in 2013. So that was over 10 years ago now. But um, then I sent out another book. It was kind of similar. I had 54 subs, 11 requests. Then I got to the third book and I got to revise and resubmit. And I lingered on that one for like a long time because I thought, oh, this is the one. And, it's definitely, I loved the book and I like couldn't let it go. And then it started, then it was the pandemic for a while, and I was like, oh, I don't really want to do anything else. So that one I was sending out for a while, and I did two rounds, and I still got requests, but and it was a similar amount. I mean, I think I had like 22 requests the first time, and then the second round I had 15, and so it felt like I was so close, so I couldn't like let it go. But then I eventually was like, okay, I've got to move on. I had another book, which is the book that I found the agent for. And people were actually telling me like my first readers were saying this is better than the previous book. You've got to send this one out. So I did reluctantly. Uh, and I sent it out to about 60 people and I got 11 requests. So, and that was actually the least number of requests I think I got, but then I got an offer. And it feels like looking back that this is like the long story, I guess, but like, it felt like forever, but now that I look back on it, it wasn't as bad as I thought. So
Yeah, and getting so many requests for the fall must have been so encouraging too, because yeah,
yeah, I mean, some of those were partials, I will say that, but like, yeah, it was. I think the thing that was frustrating was that like you sometimes you just don't hear back after that, and I think that's like sort of a no, and I couldn't. I was like, why are they responding to me? Why don't I get a response? And I think as I went along with the process, I felt like I understood it more and I got better at it and I knew how to follow up and when to sort of let it go. I did almost always follow up with agents, and I think that actually does help. Like I wasn't sure about it, but I think over time that's how I got people to actually read it. I mean, some people would request it off. I would send the query they'd requested, and I would say, sometimes I would follow up, and they would say, "Oh yeah, I'd love to look at it." Um, and I think being as personal as I could, like I think that was helpful too, because I would try to connect with the agent in some way so that they knew that I really was looking at them and not just some random person.
yeah.
Um, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So what would you say were kind of speaking of the emotional roller coaster, what were the like what were the best and the worst parts? I mean, you might have already touched on some, but
Definitely waiting is the worst part. And I think I feel like you just get into this place that you're like sort of paranoid about it. I don't know about you, but I'm like, oh my God, maybe I'm on a blacklist or like maybe, maybe I did something and like all the agents now hate me. And I like they don't know, they really don't know you that well. Like they're not doing that. Um, and you don't have anyone to really I think one of the things is you don't have anyone to like ask anything. You don't have anyone to consult with. I think it's helpful to have friends like you, Colleen, because then now we've gone through the same process. It would have
Mhm.
been, if I had known you 10 years ago, I would have been calling you every day and asking about it, but I didn't really know anyone who had like gone through it, and I didn't know if things were normal or not. I mean,
Yeah.
definitely the highs were people saying positive things and knowing that like I think sometimes you can get to a place and you think, oh, like agents are evil and they just hate my work and I don't, and I don't think that's true. I think I did get a lot of positive feedback and I did have people sort of cheering me on and giving me advice about it, like that they didn't have to. I mean, some of them would send me like long letters about like what I should work on. And people actually met with me. Even the first book, I met with someone who I didn't know at the time that she was interested. I kind of thought, well, why is she meeting with me? And it was someone I had met at a conference. And now I'm like, oh, I think she really wanted to work on my book. And I didn't realize it. Like she didn't sort of offer it, but she was chatting with me about it. And, I had to revise and resubmit. I had people, yeah, like sending me things that I don't think they had to put in that effort and they did. So, yeah, that was like the positive part of it. And you learn, and I learned a lot as I went on. I think I'm sort of happy now that my novella didn't make it because now I'm like, oh God, that was not good. But some of those agents saw enough that said, like, you should keep going. Maybe this isn't the right book, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's really generous and that's really encouraging. And it kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, I haven't been on the dating scene in a long time, but it's a
Yeah.
little bit like chatty, like, I don't know, are you interested? Are you just nice? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like that
Yeah.
awkward tension of like,
Yeah. I'm lucky. I feel like I never had to go through the like online dating and stuff because I don't know. Like it is a little like that.
I was always so bad at that part. Like, I don't know. What
Yeah,
would
and
we all
they have those speed like at conferences you can do like the speed querying and I'm like, do I really want to do that?
It's like speed dating, trying to find an agent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I don't present myself well in 5 minutes. Like I can't like I feel like you have to get to know me and I have to get to know you to like develop that relationship and to do it in like a 1 minute thing, like I just yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it would be an exercise in awkwardness for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Um yeah.
Um,
And I will say, I don't know, oh, do you have another question or am I asking you now?
no.
I will say that when I got my, I don't know the right phrasing for this, but when I received sort of like it wasn't really an offer, but I got an email that said like, I'd like to chat with you more. I like
Mm,
I read the first line and it was like, thank you for sending me your manuscript. And I was like, oh, this is a rejection. And I
rejection.
didn't read it for like 2 or 3 hours. I
Yeah.
looked at it like, because I got to this mental place where I felt
Yeah.
I need to read rejections at the right time. I don't want my kids around. I want to like not,
Yeah.
I don't want to like break down in front of them or something. And so I would read them at a certain time of day. And so it like kind of filed it away. And then I looked at it at night and I was like, oh,
Oh,
actually,
wait.
that's, and I was like, oh, I like just, I mean, I'm glad I didn't like archive it or something.
Yeah, you might have missed. Oh my gosh, sliding doors. You might have missed it altogether. Yeah.
No, I mean, I did usually read all of them and but I, yeah, I was definitely surprised when it was a actual, like, I want to chat with you. And then I was like flipping out and I was like, oh my God, I gotta respond right away. She's probably thinking I'm like, not interested or something. Yeah. Anyway, um, so Colleen, I'm going to ask you about
Yeah,
about
sure.
your
It-
process, and I don't have the questions, of course, but yeah, what made you kind of decide to look for an agent, and what was your process like?
Yeah, I'm thinking it'll be fun to contrast our approaches because yours sounds thoughtful and methodical, and mine sounds like a kamikaze plane flaming through the sky. I don't know that I had a very organized approach. I had the idea that having an agent was a good thing and it opened doors, but all I understood was that it was hard to get an agent.
Mhm,
So I wasn't really trying. I was writing seriously. I've been writing seriously since about 2015, so about 10 years. But
mhm.
I didn't begin querying until like 2021-ish. Looking at my spreadsheet, which I
Yeah.
wish I had kept better. I'm not sure what some of my notes mean at this point, but I was also trying small presses, like 50-50. So I was sending the novel that I had written out to small presses and then querying also just taking like a two-prong approach, I guess. Again, that makes it sound like I had any idea what I was doing, but it was a lot of throwing spaghetti at the wall. But to bring it back to the
Oh, I think Colleen froze for a second. Hopefully that'll come
Brontes,
back.
the book that I,
Okay.
oh shoot,
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
sorry. It's the premise of the book I had written was um, kind of like what if Jane Eyre went on a reality dating show, The Bachelor?
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
was just something I wrote for fun in the pandemic, but by 2021, I was like, oh no, I actually kind of like this. I think it's funny and I hope
Yeah.
people find it funny. So I was just, kind of querying and not really getting anywhere. I think I only got one or two requests.
Mhm.
And then it hurt more when they said no because it, again, like dating, it's like, oh, so you went on a first date with me and now
Yeah. Right.
now you're like, I am not interested in you. So that hurts. But I just was loosely querying and submitting. And then looking at my spreadsheet, I think it was around maybe 50 attempts with that.
Mhm.
It's hard to track because I changed the title a few times. And
Mhm.
again, my record keeping is really shoddy, but um, I didn't really get anywhere. And then I was just at a conference and I went to an alumni dinner for my MFA program. And I happened to sit next to another alumni and I told him the premise of the book. And he said, my friend just became an agent and she would love that book. You should query her. So I did. And now
Yeah.
she's my agent. So
Oh.
that is a random, that is like winning
Yeah.
the lottery kind of
Yeah.
approach.
Yeah.
And you can't plan for that except in the sense in which I do think as writers, we all tend to be introverted. We don't necessarily like to put ourselves out there, but that's a vote in the column of like go to the
Yeah.
conference, go to
Right.
dinner, talk to the person, don't, it's not my natural way of being in the world, but it's fruitful and we got to connect with each other. We just have to because
Yeah.
I had a moment where I almost didn't go to that dinner, and
Mhm.
that's the sliding doors where it's like, oh man, it's good. It's good that we get past that
Yeah.
discomfort of
I mean, I
our
always
intro.
thought it would happen that way for me too, but I did go to conferences, but I think I was
Yeah.
always like nervous about it, or I didn't want to talk to people about it. And actually, that first agent that I talked to for my first book, that's how I sort of met her too. and I didn't know she was an agent at all. I was just talking to her and she said, "Oh, send me your manuscript." And, and I was like, wow, and so sometimes I think it does work out that way. And sometimes it is like this hard, laborious
Yeah.
kind of, you just keep going. And for me, I felt like I'm close, but I'm not there, like,
Yeah, you had a lot of signs from the university. You were super close. Yeah.
yeah, which I didn't read as signs that I was close. I read as signs of like, nobody wants to read my book,
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So, what was it like? I don't know, like when you found out, like, I don't know what the process, like, did she call you or email you or,
Yeah,
um,
she emailed me, we had a phone call, and I even on that phone call I wasn't sure if
mhm.
again if that was an offer or not.
Yeah.
I was like, oh. And my friend even asked me, like, was there an offer? And I was like, I'm not sure. And he
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
we should probably know that. But yeah, it's worked out and we've been on sub for a little bit now. And one thing I really valued from her is the going back to developmental editing
Hmm.
really improved the book.
Yeah.
So I feel like regardless of what happens, the nice thing is I feel like that book is much better. She really helped that book
Yeah.
shine and it grew. I thought, you think it's done, you think a
Hmm.
work is finished, and then you give it to a reader, and then you find you're like, oh yeah, I can write 6,000 more words, and I can do this, and I can improve it. So it's fun, regardless of whatever happens next.
It's fun.
Hopefully, yeah, it's fun. We love it. My inbox is a hostile place of good news and bad news all the time, but it's fun. We keep doing it. We're along for the ride. So.
Yeah, I think that people don't always know that agents do offer editorial feedback and that you do go through edits with them, and that is another part of the process. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if all agents do that, but I would think most of them do. They want it to be in a good place before they send it out.
Right, right.
So,
So
yeah,
that's generous of her to have read it and said like, okay, it's, maybe right now it's a B plus, but we can really make it an A if we
yeah,
do these things. And I was
yeah,
happy to take that feedback and run. So
yeah, cool.
yeah.
Well, I guess thanks for listening about our querying process. I hope it's helpful to you if you're watching this video. And we'll see how it goes. We'll come back with another topic next time, I guess.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good.